Well, good morning, all. I would like to call this meeting to order and welcome all members of council that are joining us in person and virtually this morning. Also welcome to all of our staff in attendance who will provide us facts and information so we can make the best decisions in the interest of the corporation of ACW and the 6,100 residents that we speak for. Welcome also to any members of the public joining us this morning and media. Meetings of live council are live streamed on the township's official website in accordance with the live streaming and virtual participation of meetings policy. By attending this meeting, attendees and participants are consenting to their image, voice, and comments being recorded and available for public viewing on the township's website. Do any members of council have a pecuniary interest or potential conflict of interest of any agenda item that we have today? Okay, I thank you for that. We have 3 sets of minutes, and I would entertain a mover. Yes, 4 sets of minutes. I apologize. 4 sets of minutes. And I would entertain a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes as provided in items 3.1 to 3.4. Deputy Mayor Vanstone and Councillor Hickey. Are there any questions on any of these sets of minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Open forum is an opportunity for any members of the public to make any comments that they would care to regarding any agenda item that we have today. And if you would please go to the microphone, indicate your first and last name and the agenda item, please.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Paul Bollinger, and I like to talk about 12.2 motor grader situation. I know, and everybody here knows, we have lots of gravel pit to maintain, to keep taxpayers happy. But we also need, and I don't disagree with that, a piece of equipment to work on that road. But can we buy a piece of equipment made in that part from the world and not overseas? Can we support an industry in our neighborhood to buy an equipment like that? And can we get a second quote from John Deere road grader to see the price differences between the two of us? Maybe John Deere is a little bit more money, but still made in this part from the world. And I hope we get an answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Is there any other members of the public that would like to make any comment about any agenda item that we have today, please? And seeing none, I thank you. And we will move on to number 6, which is the Treasury Department, specifically 6.1, the payment of the current accounts. And I would entertain a mover and a seconder for these. And that is Councillor Miltenberg moves, seconded by Councillor Forrester, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby authorizes the payments of the September 2024 accounts as presented. Do we have any questions on any of these lines? And if not, all in favor of the motion is read. And that is carried. Thank you. 6.2 is the payment of the previous month actual accounts. A mover and a seconder for these, please. Councillor Hickey moves. Deputy Mayor Vanstone seconds, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby approves the payment of the August 2024 accounts in the amount of $1,881,670.82. Do we have any questions on any of these lines? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. 6.3 is the summary revenue/expenditure reports. And I would entertain a mover and a seconder for these, please. Councillor Forrester moves, Councillor Blake seconds, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council adopt the summary revenue/expenditure reports as written for the Township, Lucknow District Medical Center, and Lucknow District Recreation from January to August of 2024. Do we have any questions on any of these numbers? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. 6.4 is a community grants policy update. We have been provided as council. This prepared by our Deputy Clerk and Communications Coordinator, Kelly Thompson. Are there any questions on this? And if not, I'll just ask for a show of hands for consideration of this as adoption in a bylaw in section 18. And that is supported by council. Thank you. We do not have anything under planning. We do under building department, the chief building official's report. It is for information purposes. Do we have any questions for our building official? And seeing none, the future options for sewage disposal. We have discussed this in the past and have received this report prepared by our CBO, Brett Pollock, with the suggestion to defer providing direction on the future options for the disposal of sewage until the draft growth and master servicing plan has been presented. And it's just a matter of process. Any questions on this? We're okay. And that is for information purposes. Under administration, 9.1 is a noise and sound bylaw amendment regarding fireworks. And staff have provided this, and the council will request staff to prepare an amendment to the noise and sound bylaw to reflect the specific times as proposed when the discharging of fireworks is permitted. It's just a little clearer and when it's possible. And I'm going to go first to Councillor Miltenberg and then to Councillor Forster, please.
Yeah, I like this amendment. I wonder if we could add an education piece, like to let people know that we've changed this, or to publicize it, or to contact the Lakeshore Association. I know we don't have a list of Airbnbs, but I know people would like to know this, that we've changed it, and I wonder how we could get that message out there.
Good question. Staff, please, clerk.
So we will prepare an amendment to bring back to probably the next council meeting or a future council meeting. And once council's adopted, then we can go ahead and do some advertising on it.
Yeah, and information. Councillor Forster and then Deputy Mayor, please.
Okay, thanks, Glenn. I'm just curious why, so I take it's 2 days before plus the holiday. Why do you need 3 days?
Okay, thank you for that question. Staff, please, clerk.
I think the idea here is that generally speaking on a long weekend, you know, most people consider the whole long weekend to be the holiday. And this way it gives some parameters around what is permitted, and also lets those know who have concerns what is permitted. And this way it works with what is actually happening. And so that enforcement isn't, you know, so strongly a concern.
Okay, thanks.
Fair enough. Okay,
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor, please. Oh, I'm sorry, did you have a follow-up? You're good. Deputy Mayor, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would ask that I've tried to share some stuff before and I can't do it. I don't know whether it's my iPad or what it is, but could you make sure that we can share this so we can get it on Facebook? Because it seems to be, if we can get it on Facebook, everybody in the community will know about it. So thank you very much for that.
Okay, thanks. Clerk?
Yep. Facebook is one of our primary means of getting information out there. So we will definitely do that.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions, comments, council on this? And if not, I'll just entertain a show of hands if we're in support of moving forward with this. Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. 9.2 is the township purchase of the West Wawanosh Mutual Insurance Company. Certainly great news. And if anyone has any questions, if not, I would just ask for a show of hands and we will consider the adoption of this purchase agreement in bylaw section 18. Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. Flag policy draft. We have asked the staff to prepare this, which they have done, and it is coming back to us in draft format. And I would entertain any questions or comments on this from council. Councillor Miltenberg and then Deputy Mayor, please.
Yeah, I like a lot of this. I like the fact that it's nonprofit organizations, not political. I'm trying to find the sentence in there. A flag shall be flown a maximum of 1 week or the duration of the associate event, whichever is less. So my question is to the specific flag, which is the only flag we've ever been asked to fly that would fit under this policy, and that is the pride flag. Not that it matters which flag it is, but the event is 1 month long. So should we want to fly a flag longer, is that an option, or does this flag policy, does this come to councilors because we have a flag policy, it just goes up, or how does this work?
Okay, I'll defer to our staff, please. Kirk?
So this is, again, this is just a draft. I have consolidated a bunch of different flag policies that were reviewed from different municipalities across the province. A large number of municipalities have lots of different flag requests, and it kind of is a happy medium on the significance of the event and the number of requests that they get. I am more than happy at the will of council to change that to a month, or leave it at the discretion of what the request is, and then let council kind of decide what that length is when the request comes through.
Okay, thanks for that. Just to follow up, if I could, on this, Councillor Miltenberg, I think if we just removed the maximum period of 1 week being 7 consecutive calendar days, and whichever is less, and just say for the duration of the associated event, that would cover it, wouldn't it, Councillor Miltenberg? What are your thoughts?
It would, and I'm just trying to get my head around how this works. So it'd be just like so say with our community granting policy, the staff vets the ones that come in, and if they fit the policy, then council passes it. Would this work the same way, that the staff would vet it and then it would come to council and we'd be agreeing with it? Or do we have to, or do you just do it, or how does this work?
Good question. Clerk, please.
So a request would come in, staff would ensure that it aligns with the policy, then we would bring it to council for endorsement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So on that topic, just before we move on, so under C, a flag shall be flown for the duration of the associated event. That would cover your concern on the length. Is that correct, Councillor Miltenberg? Yep. Okay. Deputy Mayor, and then Councillor Hickey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm totally different on this one. I'd like to see us go with number 2 quote, that we fly the 3 flags. It looks after everybody. I've got nothing against any of the other flags, but there's a whole lot of people that have had problems with us flying flags, and can they get it up there, and you know, so anyways, I'd like to see us just go with the 3 flags. So we've got the Union Jack, we've got the Canadian flag, when we've got the township flag, and you know, we will fly them at half-mast if somebody's died. And I think it respects everything that we want to respect here. It also takes away a lot of staff time, because every time we got to bring it back to council, we got to look at it, decide, yes, we're going to do it or we're not going to do it. And I honestly just believe that if we go with the 3 flags that we have there, it will be more than adequate and quite good for the community. So that's my opinion. Thank you very much.
So just to be clear, so you're opposed to flying any requests from a nonprofit organization that comes forward?
Yes, I think I am, as I said, I've got nothing against any of the organizations. I think they're all good, but if we simplify it, I always think simple is better. And if we fly the 3 flags, we're looking after everything, and I think it would be very good and very simple, and that's what my opinion is. So thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Hickey, please.
Thank you. I support the comments just spoken on option number 2, the 3 flags that represent all. I think they're inclusive for everybody across the township. And I don't think option 1 will fix any issues we've had in the past with the flag flying request, because it still comes to council. So it doesn't, it's still discussed, even if the requests come in, the same as we still do. And I think a lot of requests could fall in both categories, approved and not approved. Just for example, the ones I thought of, pro-life, pro-choice, support of nonprofit, and public awareness. They could be argued on both sides, and I don't think that's something that the township needs to get involved in the municipal level. Even thinking of the multicultural festival in Goderich, it could be approved by the nonprofit, the public awareness, and an organization that has helped the township in positive manner. But approval could not be given on the religious organizations, events, and celebrations. If you look at the Canadian Encyclopedia, it says religion and culture always exist in close relation. Together with aesthetics and ethics, religion constitutes culture. So if we support that event, for an example, How do we say no to a request of a religious organization? I'm Christian. Come Easter time, if someone was to ask for a flag for that, it would be an automatic no because of religion. And it was brought up about the pride flag, pride, personal rights, and defense and education. If you go back, the start of Pride was established in 1966 as a radical gay political organization. It led aggressive, unapologetic demonstrations. The group has evolved, I understand that. The views are not the same from the original, but we live in a world now that we look back and we try, and we have to correct. We're always renaming streets I'm not saying in the township, but in a culture, we're renaming streets and schools. We're removing statues. It was just voted on up in Kincardine last week to remove a statue on the history. It's not what happened after, it's the history. So the past does matter, and how do we support Pride then if we argue that way? So those are my examples. It could be going both ways, and as it was said, I think staff and council have enough to do without worrying about flags. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Blake, please.
Yeah, thank you. I think both Evan and Bill made a lot of really good comments and points. I personally don't believe it's appropriate for a government building to be flying and representing any flag that isn't the national, provincial, or municipal. It doesn't matter whether you agree or disagree with the cause or what the group or organization represents. Choosing a stance makes some people upset and some people happy, and that can be very divisive. So I think it's extremely important for the township to stay out of these situations altogether, personally. And that is how I have and will be continuing to vote on with regards to this topic.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, I wrote down a couple of councillor comments, which I'd like to address, and I'll start with Deputy Mayor Vanstones, where he said other people having problems with flags. We've only had one flag, and so I'm not sure who the problem people were, but there were people who didn't have problems with that, and I think that's whatever decision we made. So I think that muddies the waters there. When he talks about staff time, the intent of a policy is to lessen staff time. And the third comment, which is simplify it, I agree with, and it still needs to come to council. I don't know why we wouldn't, if you want to simplify it, you create a policy. If it fits the policy, then the CAO and the head of council says, yes, it fits the policy. As long as the policy says what we want to say, you want to simplify it and take out staff time. That takes out everything right there. If it meets the policy and it's not a budget item, then there you go. It's simple, creates no staff time. So I don't find any veracity in those arguments there. To address Councillor Hickey's on how do you do religion? Well, it's very clear for hundreds of years in democracies, religion and state must be separate. That's in almost every democracy in the world, and that's why you say no to religious ones. If you try to get a grant from provincial or whatever, if you're religious, you don't get it. There is a definite, we aren't allowed to do O come Emmanuel in public schools because there is a division, and that comes from the top. It doesn't start down here. And I'm a little taken aback by the fact that we're going to reference how a movement started 70 years ago when it was in response to discrimination, because if you look against lots of things, how they started, including civil rights, it often started with violence that was in response to violence. And I think rather than looking at the origin of the 70 years, the statues that you speak of are coming down were a mindset that did not change while that person or organization was operating. It's not like it started that way and then they were good the rest of their life. They continued to keep slaves or whatever they're taking the statues down for. So I'm going to reiterate that I think we need a flag policy. And that's what this is for. And so I would support number one and say, let's have a flag policy. Let's figure out what it needs to be. And then if you want to really simplify it, why does it need to come back to council? if it fits the policy, it's not a budget item. That's why the community grants comes back to policy, because we're spending money. If it fits the policy, we create policies at the rec board every 4 years now. And if it hits the policy, we never hear about it again. And that's what policies are for, to create simplification and cut down on staff time. So I just shared yesterday one of my favorite new things to say is wait, and that stands for why am I talking? So I'm going to stop now, but those are my views. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Snowblin, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with 99% of what Councillor Miltenberg has iterated. It's a policy. I think we are policy governed council. Policy should simplify things in response to Deputy Mayor's comment about simplicity. I like policy because it makes it very clear. It brings clarity to anything that comes to council. If it falls within the policy, it should be fairly black and white. I agree that we should have a policy on the flag, the flying of flags. And I fully support the option 1. I guess I can't read it without my glasses. Option 1, with clearly defining what constitutes a flag to be flown under the policy. I have no problem with amending it to the duration of the event. I understand that there are some organizations that have month-long events or week-long events, and I would say that with this policy, if it was approved in with option 1, anyone that comes to us looking for to fly the flag at our township office, it should be fair and equitable amongst everyone. I fully support number 1.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to make a comment on that, and you touched on something fair and equitable. Huron County lives by equity, diversity, and inclusion. Everyone is welcome in Huron County, and everyone belongs in Huron County. There is no place for any discrimination or prejudice against anyone. We are an open county, and we have asked our staff to bring back a flag policy, which they have done. And I think we need to be very open-minded on this. Any further comments? Do you have any comment, Councillor Forster, before I go to Deputy Mayor?
My only comment, I'm sitting on the fence with this. I have no problem either way. I know I've had phone calls that make it simple, just fly the 3 flags. So, honest, I really don't. Doesn't matter to me, but we'll see how the vote goes. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Deputy Mayor, please.
Yes, I'd just like to clarify one thing is that I've been told by a couple councilors here that I wasn't going by a policy. If we go with the number 2, that is the policy of the township, that we fly 3 flags. So it is a policy. So I just want to clarify that. So, and as you all know, I am very, I don't just know the right word, but I'm very out in the community and talk to a lot of people. And most of them just say, well, why? Just, we honor all these communities and all these organizations. We do honor them. We do. We look at very favorably at everybody, but why not just fly the 3 flags and be done with it? So that's why I'm looking at it this way. So thank you very much.
Okay, Councillor Snowden, please.
Just to pick up on Deputy Mayor's comment that he's out there in the community and talking to a lot of people. I fully appreciate that, and I'm sure that the constituents that you talk to are very, very pleased that you give them an open ear. But I dare to say that most of us are out in the community and talking to people, and perhaps we're talking to different people and we hear different things than what you hear.
Perfect. Thank you. Any additional comments? My last comment is, again, that Huron County is welcoming to all. We have a flag policy that has been brought back, and I think I'm going to ask for a show of hands and see how this goes. Deputy Mayor, please.
excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I would like to make the motion, then we'll get this on the table, and then that's one way or another, it either flies or it doesn't fly, that we adopt option 2. Thank you.
Okay, you okay with the motion for that, clerk?
I am okay with the motion. I just have a draft that I will read if that's okay, in anticipation of this. That Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council only fly the national flag of Canada, the province of Ontario flag, and the township flag to be flown as per the national flag raising protocol. The flag lowering policy adopted by bylaw 53/2021 would still apply, and a policy to confirm this direction will be presented for consideration at a future meeting of council.
Okay, would you make that motion, Deputy Mayor?
I did, yes.
Okay.
And a seconded by Councillor Hecky. Is everyone clear on the motion? All in favor of the motion?
1, 2, 3, 4. That is carried.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we'll now move on to 9.4. That is the bylaw enforcement report. It is for information purposes. Do we have any questions or comments on this? Seeing none, we have nothing under water or drainage. Public Works, the Westmount line reconstruction has been tendered, and we have the lowest tender in front of us. I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the awarding of this tender. Deputy Mayor moves, seconded by Councillor Forrester, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby award the tender for the Westmount line reconstruction to Vendrell Excavating, Inc. in the amount of $784,648.76, including HST. That is the lowest tender. Do we have any questions on this? All in favor of the motion? And that is opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. The greater tender, again, has been tendered out, and the staff recommendation is to award the tender with the following motion, and I will entertain a mover and a seconder for this, please. Councillor Forrester moves. Deputy Mayor seconds that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council award the tender to supply a new 2025 CAT grader to Toromont Industries Limited in the amount of $596,678.42, including HST, plus a provisional rear-mounted rubber tire packer in the amount of $32,285.23, including HST, for a grand total of $628,963.65, including HST, and further that grader unit number CM1, being a 2006 Volvo, be declared surplus and sold by online auction. Any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to answer Paul Bollinger's question. There aren't any graders made in Canada. There's parts for those graders made in Canada, and there's parts made for both of these graders. Because I happen to know, I worked at a plant that shipped moldboards to both the United States and Brazil for John Deere, and they also sell some for this other grader too. So they're, as far as I know, unless you can find a plant, which I doubt if you can, there are no graders made in Canada. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. We have a motion to accept the lowest tender, and I'm going to ask if we're all in favor of this motion. Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. We, under 12.3, would consider amending the temporary road closure bylaw on Division Line. Is there any questions or comments for this rationale? Councillor Snowblin, please.
Give me a second to find it. I just want to make sure I know where this is. So this is Division Line and Glens Hill, correct?
I will defer to Tom on this, please.
Yeah, I included the a little map for you on the report. So that's Glens Hill and Division at the top of the orange line going down towards Dungannon.
Right.
So there was an old house that's being reconstructed, and in order to get the house going again, they need snowplow service.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Snowblin, please.
Can I ask a few questions?
Oh, absolutely.
So it looks to me like the house is a long way from being finished. Is it scheduled for the winter maintenance to occur this winter or in another year?
Thank you for that, Tom.
We're ready to go at any point. Talk to the guys about it. As far as when the construction's complete, I don't know. I know it's underway.
And another follow-up.
Please.
If I recall, that road narrows quite a bit towards Glens Hills. Do you suspect that there'd be any problems with the equipment that needs to go down that road as it approaches going north from Division to Glens Hill?
So through the chair, there is a bit of a creek there, and we'll have to see how it works out. But it has been done in the past. I've been told there may be some bad banking of snow. So we'll make sure it gets done.
I was just going to say it does get impassable bit there, even on a fairly mild winter storm. Yeah, I don't know that I don't know much about roads like you do, but it doesn't appear that you can make that road any wider at that point.
Yeah, it's very steep on both sides there, so it would take anything's possible.
Yeah. Okay. I know you'll do your best.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, reading our bylaw, I also know that road very, very well. It may actually end up being cheaper and easier to come in from the other way, depending on how the equipment works. And if indeed you find that, do you have to come back? Because we're saying winter maintenance from Civic Address to Glens Hill. If it becomes easier to go from whatever the fourth is called now, I can't remember. Do you have to come back? Dungannon Road.
Okay.
So this direction was made in consultation with the operator. So in the event that in the future we have to come back, that's just what's going to have to take place.
Okay, thank you for that. Any further questions or comments? And if not, I'll ask for a show of hands if we're in support of considering this in the Section 18 as a bylaw. And that is supported by council. Thank you. Committee reports. Do any members of council have any committee reports that they would like to share at this time? I'll go first to Councillor Forrester, please.
Okay, thanks, Glenn. Last week I had 2 meetings. First one was doctor recruitment. My iPad died at the last bit of it, so I had to leave. So I had the charger and everything, and it just died. So the practice ready, which is overseas doctors, that's kind of a slow process, and they hope to have one in Wingham by 2025. I think it was February, and it's looking promising for a husband and wife team. I can't even remember his name, and the wife still has I think positive is his wife has a year to go yet, and they've met with the foundation to give them a really good incentive to come, so hopefully that works out. And on Wednesday I attended CHIP, and we're going to give $750 to it's a horse and buggy handbook that's coming out next year, and the ATV maps coming ahead, that should be out next year too. And roundabout is pretty much approved for 83 and Airport Road. And that's about it. Oh, and I attended the Thrashers, which I've never done in my life, and that's a really good event. Okay, thank you.
Cool, thank you. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Just a plug for St. Helens, their fish fry, and they're hoping to updo some electrical, so the funds are for the hall is this Saturday. It's takeout only. If you want tickets, the numbers have to be in by tomorrow, so you would need to call me or Barb Snowden and reserve your tickets. It's this Saturday. It's takeout only, and it's pork chops, baked beans, baked potatoes, coleslaw, rolls, and homemade desserts. So there you go.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Councillor Hickey, please, then Councillor Snowden.
It's not a committee, it's a event I attended. I want to acknowledge the local fire halls. There's quite a few of them that are having their breakfast in the area. I attended the one in Blythe 2 weeks ago, I think it was. On the Sunday, they had a 2-day event, and they report in between 1,800 and 2,000 people they served. And it all goes to a good cause. So just acknowledgement to them. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's great to attend those. Thank you for that. Councillor Snowblin, please.
Yes, last week I attended by Zoom, community safety and well-being, working on the fourth pillar, as I explained a few weeks ago, the fourth pillar of their mandate, which is housing and homelessness campaign, which will run from October 1st to December 31st. We worked on a lot of the messaging that will be shared with the various partners in this, which includes ACW and all the other lower tier councils of Huron County and Perth. There were 3 action items that were brought up that we the committee is asking for full support on, and that's to support the Solve the Crisis campaign, and I use Solve the Crisis in quotation. Consider either monetary or in-kind donations to organizations rather than the actual donate. For example, food banks, they'd rather have a cash or a check donation as opposed to canned goods. Same with the Women's Center and the Connection Center. They're trying to get the message out there that those groups know what they need, and when folks are generously giving, they might not be exactly what the centers need. And there is also an organization called Be Part of the Solution, again in quotations, homelessness website, and the goal of that is to debunk the stigma of homelessness. The ask to the councils at that meeting was to support this Solve the Crisis campaign. And there was to the working group a notice of motion given that a lot of this information comes down from the province. As you know, it's a provincially mandated committee. And it seems that a lot of the focus is centered around more urban areas. So there is a desire on the part of this working group to see if we can get the province to recognize this mandated committee from a more rural perspective, and to use the data that they provide on a per capita basis, because it would reflect better on the rural lens. So I think that would be a good thing. And we all know that sometimes the rural areas get lost in the data and lost in the mix when it comes to provincially mandated things. There's hopefully going to be a press release on all of this. The tentative date is October 1st, and anybody would be welcome to the press release. I just don't have the details on it yet.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Councillor Snowblin. Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This isn't a report. This is just something that I've seen. I'd like to thank Tom for one thing, getting the new stands down in Ben Miller. The kids love the new bases. Everybody raves about them. And I just like to give the volunteers a real pat in the back for running the minor ball this year. From a bystander that just watches, it went over real good. The kids just loved it. They all thought they were Blue Jays or some other fancy thing, and I really appreciate the fact that the volunteers are keeping this going, and it's great for our community. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for that. CAO, please.
So the credit for the bases that were installed, the new ones, that goes out to Lucknow Recreation. Steve Bushel and his staff, they looked after installing the new bases. So Tom gets credit for whatever else was on that list. I don't.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Okay, anything else? Councillor Forster, please.
This dovetails on what Evan talked about. I attended the firefighter breakfast in Lucknow. Got to meet the fire chief, and he's a really nice guy. Thank you.
He absolutely is. That's right. I have a few events I wanted to highlight, and I'll first start with the roundabout. Huron County Council have discussed that intersection at 83 west of Exeter and Airport line for a number of years, and we had studies done on it and reports. And the preferred option was a roundabout there, because if we put stoplights, it would have backed up the traffic, stopped coming west out of Exeter, especially in the summertime as cottagers are going to the beach. And so the roundabout was the best option that was presented to us. And so, yeah, that construction will start in 25 for that. So perfect. Thank you for mentioning that.
How long will that take? Do they know?
A year. It might be less, but you know, probably be operational in 26. Yeah. On the 5th of September, I was invited to attend an international fly-in at the Goddard Regional Airport. And there was a number of aircraft there. And actually there was one from Miami that come up. And a number of aircraft and pilots were in attendance. And it was a great event. And they just had rave reviews on the Goddard Airport, the accommodation. And when I say the accommodation, the way they're so welcome, the 5,000-foot runway. And it was a great event. There was impending weather coming in that night, and so that there would have been more without that happening. However, it was a great event that they much appreciated. On the 6th of September, as Wayne commented, I made comments on behalf of ACW and the county at the 63rd Huron Pine Threshers reunion, and the weather was cool. It is what it is. However, to all the volunteers, as Councillor Hickey commented about, you know, that everyone puts in a lot of effort for that, and it is really appreciated to be able to go back in history and see the way agriculture was years ago and the way it has evolved today. It's you would not recognize it as the same industry. And that afternoon was the opening of the G2G tunnel at the Guelph Goddard Tunnel under County Road 25. There was an opening for that, and the county collaborated with the G2G group for the safety of the users that they could cross under the road. And the tunnel is really well received, and it is safe for the public, and that is a great event that happened to recognize that. And last Friday night, I brought greetings on behalf of ACW to the Lucknow Fair. And again, with the great weather on the weekend, it was extremely well attended. We had a little bit of a pie auction, and that went really well too, well supported. So with that, please, Councillor Miltenberg.
Sorry, you and I both forgot. Yesterday, we attended an Economic Development Committee meeting. And those minutes won't be coming till January. So brief overview, we were working on the action plan. We are pursuing partnering with Brookside to support our students in the trades and further education. And something else is on that, but a report will be coming, I think, in January. Is that correct? I'm looking at Florence because she was there as well. But yeah.
So the committee discussed what would be in the budget for 2025. One of them was looking at having an expansion of an already established bus service in Lambton Shores come into Huron County and having it come north here. So that was a topic of discussion and will be coming at the January meeting for consideration.
Thank you for that report.
Yep. Yeah, thank you for that, Councillor Miltenberg. Okay. Moving on, we have nothing for correspondence for direction. There's one item for correspondence for information. Councillor Hickey, please.
I'll just touch on that. I think she's just asking for kind of a reminder on payments. If staff could answer that question. Has any property owner been assigned their amount yet? For example, 2024 work. Like how soon would that come out, or 2023? Has anybody seen that? That's just my take on that email. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll defer to our CAO, please.
The Hutchisons aren't part of those two projects, just to be clear. So you knew that. I'm not sure if you did. Yeah. So yeah, she's not part of those two projects.
I'm sorry, I'm not able to hear.
I apologize. I did not have my microphone on. On 17.1, is a Huron County Joint Training Session tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. It is virtual, and it is regarding the Indigenous cultures and worldviews and truth and reconciliation. And I would encourage all members of council to attend that. We do have bylaws, and is it okay to go around the room with everyone on this? And the first one would be bylaw 52-2024, the community grants policy, would be moved by Deputy Mayor Vanstone, seconded by Councillor Snoblin, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 52-2024, being a bylaw to adopt a community grants policy for the township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh, and that it now be read severally, a first, second, and third time, and finally passed the 17th day of September 2024. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. I thank you. 18.2 is bylaw 59-2024, moved by Councillor Hickey, seconded by Councillor Miltenberg, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 59-2024, being a bylaw to authorize the transfer of certain lands in the township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh, and that it now be read severally a first, second, third time, and finally passed the 17th day of September 2024, specifically the purchase of the West Wawanosh Mutual Insurance Company. All in favor of this motion? Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. Bylaw 60-2024 is to amend the temporary road closure bylaw, moved by Councillor Forrester, seconded by Councillor Blake, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 60-2024, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 70-2021, being a bylaw to close certain roads during the winter season in the township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh, and then it now be read severally a first, second, and third time, and finally passed the 17th day of September 2024. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you. We do have a closed session today, and it would be moved by Councillor Forrester, seconded by Councillor Miltenberg, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council moved into a closed session in accordance with Section 239 in brackets 2 and brackets B of the Municipal Act, with the CAO, the clerk, and public works superintendent remaining in attendance at 9:46 a.m. for the purpose of discussing personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal employees, being a public works staff. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. I thank you, and we will provide our clerk the opportunity to secure the meeting at this time, please. Thank you. And we reporting out of our closed session, the purpose was to both congratulate and thank Larry Brindley for his pending retirement the 30th day of October, and Larry will be recognized at a future council meeting. And with that, the confirmation bylaw would be moved by Councillor Hickey, seconded by Councillor Miltenberg. The leave be given to introduce bylaw number 61-2024, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Council meeting held on September 17th, 2024, and that it now be read severally a first, second, and third time, and finally passed the 17th day of September 2024. All in favor of this motion? Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. And a motion to adjourn would be made by Councillor Forrester, seconded by Councillor Blake, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council does now adjourn to meet again on the first day of October 2024 at 9 a.m. or at the call of the mayor. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you very much, and please all enjoy the rest of our day.